Welcome back. We're here to preview Saturday afternoon's Premier League match between Newcastle and Watford. Barnes will start with Newcastle, bottom of the table, just 2 points out of a possible 15, and on Monday night they were well beaten at West Ham.
Yeah, it's not looking very good for Newcastle at the moment, is it? It's been a really poor, disappointing start to the season for them, particularly as I thought McLaren might be able to whip that team into shape. They've had one of their better transfer windows for a while. The players that came in were decent. They didn't lose mainly their best players as they have done in recent seasons. So there was more optimism around the club than there has been in recent seasons going into this campaign. But as you mentioned, still looking for that first league win of the season, first league win under Steve McLaren. Is he coming under pressure already? I think it's after 5 games it'd be very harsh to say so, and Mike Ashley, in fairness to him, he's had his critics, but he tends to stand by his managers. Pardew, obviously, there was fans calling for his head for a long time, but he stuck by them, so I wouldn't say McLaren was under pressure as of yet, but he'll be desperate to get that first win under his belt. And the game against West Ham, it was another just a lacklustre display from them, no cutting edge really from them. Never looked like getting anything out of that game really. Just another just really disappointing and flat defeat for them. Not many positives to take for them, and not anything really for the fans to shout about and say, oh, we've got a chance of staying up this season. There has been occasions like that defensively, backs the wall stuff against the likes of Manchester United and Arsenal. They've showed a lot of heart and desire in those ones, but going forward there's big problems for them.
Yeah, because the season, it started okay, didn't it? Home to Southampton, who was so good last season, and they got a 2-2 draw there, and that was quite an encouraging performance. You had that great goal from Wijnaldum from that brilliant cross. It was the sort of game that really lifted the fans, but since then it has been really disappointing. Like I said, they weren't very good against West Ham, and you look at just their general streak in the Premier League, stretching back to February. It's just 1 win in 16 Premier League games now, and that does date back to when Pardew left for Palace, and I think that was a big blow for them. And obviously keeping John Carver last year, nothing happened under him at all, and you wonder if that was maybe should they have brought someone in a lot earlier, and then kept John Carver until the end of the season, because they were close to going down last year. And I just think that whole stretch they've been on can't have helped the morale within the team, and that's a bad run. And at home as well, they've won just 2 of their last 12 at home in the Premier League. And St James's Park, when it's rocking, it's a brilliant ground. 50,000 and more up there. It's a great ground to be at, but they are really struggling. And this is such a big game at home to a Watford side who have looked okay in some games, but they haven't been that great, because you look at this game, it's very important because of their next 2 games. They play Chelsea and Man City in the next 2, and I know Chelsea are down there right with Newcastle near the bottom, but you expect them to be better than Newcastle in that game, and City have been brilliant so far in the league, so those 2 fixtures are really difficult, which makes this game even more important.
Yeah, and you mentioned that run they've been on. That's just so terrible, isn't it? 6 points from the last 48 available is relegation form in any league in the world, that is, and they need to improve that. The way to improving that is obviously to score more goals, and that's where they've had their problems mainly this season. Only got 2 all season, which is lowest tally in the league. None since the open day of the season. You mentioned that draw against Southampton, which means 4 in a row without scoring a goal now in the Premier League. Haven't gone 5 in a row in the top flight since 1988, which shows how much trouble they're having. And their options up front, obviously Cisse, there's rumours about him not being happy, nearly left in the transfer window by all accounts. Mitrovic, he hasn't shown much really that he's a player you can rely on to get goals or even stay on the field. He's obviously suspended for this weekend. He came on, got 2 yellow cards within seconds of his first 2 substitute appearances. In fairness to him, he acquitted himself well against Manchester United, but that's 1 game, and he's been a bit of a liability in all the other games. So just the options up front for them, they're not great. You'd say they've got a decent midfield, and perhaps they need to weigh in with a few more goals, but that striking role, that final third, they really need to improve on, otherwise they're going to stand no chance of staying up.
Yeah, and I think Watford here, they'll probably think this is a good chance to win the game. But Watford come into it after their first win of the season. A really impressive one as well against the Swansea side, who had started the season so well. In that first month of the season, Swansea were brilliant. And for Watford to hold them to a clean sheet, eke out the win 1-0. The goal wasn't exactly a thing of beauty, was it? Sort of, hump up the field, and then Deeney knocks it down. Igalo sticks it away. And, Deeney struggled a bit up front. But apart from that, you look at Watford's results and you think it's been an okay start, but of the 3 promoted sides, you'd probably say they might be the one in most trouble. I know Bournemouth, below them in the table at the moment, but I think Bournemouth they just seem to have more about them, and Watford, you do wonder if they've got enough. But it was an okay start. So they started with those 3 draws and then lost at Man City, didn't they? So the start was okay, and to beat Swansea like that, especially they had Barami sent off as well, didn't they, for that stamper? So he'll now miss 3 games, but to hold Swansea at the end there with 10 men, it was an impressive result, and so important to get that first win.
Yeah, I think it's been quite a similar story for Watford this season as to Newcastle. Defensively, they've been pretty sound. They get 3 clean sheets in the last 4 Premier League games, which is very good for a newly promoted team, and a good base to build perhaps a survival bid on. They'll be looking to carry on that because they have looked solid. Those 3 draws, as you mentioned, they were looking decent in those games, and it was 3 decent points for them to start the season with. Obviously against Man City, never likely to get anything out of that game. You're up against arguably the best attack in the league at that point, so they didn't keep a clean sheet in that. But going forward, as with Newcastle, it's probably their biggest problem at the moment, which is strange when you consider Deeney did so well in the Championship, scored so many goals there. Ighalo's scored, he's had a fantastic 2015 so far. He's got 2 of their 3 goals so far this season, but they need other players to weigh in. As soon as they can get Deeney scoring, he needs to prove he can do it at this level. A lot of people backed him, me included, to do it at this level because he was so good in the Championship for so long, but he needs to get that first goal of the season. I think if they can keep Ighalo firing, he obviously knows where the net is, so if you give him the chances, he's going to get goals. But that one against Swansea was their first goal since the opening day of the season, so they need to find more in the final third, just like Newcastle, I think.
Yeah, so both of these sides really struggle for goals this year, just 5 goals between them in the Premier League all season. What's your score prediction?
Yeah, predictably, I think it might be a low-scoring one, but I'm going to back Newcastle to pick up their first win of the season here. I think I'm going to go for a 1-0 home win.
I'm actually going to go the other way. I think there might be goals. Maybe there'll just be goals in this one, you sort of end those runs. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. So we've got one narrow Newcastle win and a draw. Thanks for joining us.